Hey everyone, this is Near Reality. I'm currently trying out this short form kind of content making on my old channel. Been some time since I've really uploaded content on here, and really I just wanted to do some little commentary on over gameplay footage, just try how that world works. Um, it's always been about a lot. So I've always wanted to just try this out just to get something new on this, but I never really delved into it since I moved on to camera footage on myself and talking. But it's just one of those days I just wanted to try something different and try and explore other ideas. But it's always, but there's just some topics I want to go over without, a sense of direction or anything. Just a relaxing talk while video game footage plays over. So the Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness trailer during the Super Bowl. I don't watch football. I'm not interested in football, but yeah, the Multiverse of Madness. I've seen that trailer like multiple times. It does look like Doctor Strange is going down a dark path, and I'm liking the horror aspect to it. I don't know if that will be the full on thing we get when the movie comes out, because I still remember Age of Ultron and how they were touting this trailer to be this big spectacle of horror and destruction, only to be, well, Age of Ultron and what it became. And what if certainly revalidated why Ultron had to die at the end of the movie and can never come back because of how powerful he would have become had things went his way. But one of the big things that was talked about was seeing Patrick Stewart, clearly Charles Xavier, Professor X, from the X-Men side of the universe, of the multiverse, and see him on this council. I'm thinking, yeah, they're gonna bring in actors who were proposed actors for characters. They're gonna probably retcon the Incredible Hulk, considering that nothing about the movie is really tied with the rest of the Marvel universe. You could easily just retcon Incredible Hulk and make Edward Norton's movie be offshoot in the multiverse and just use that logic. I'm like that's an idea they could do, since in order to justify why the characters are so different, and why it seems like everything seems different compared to what we had initially, and why certain characters were never seen again after that movie. But but the mutant side has been a thing that people have been wanting to know for a while now, and I was really looking forward to how they bring the mutants in, and now it looks like Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff also going down a villain path, uh, going a little insane over the loss of her children. At least this would make more sense than what Brian Michael Bendis cooked up, and then other writers had to create time travel, and Doctor Doom was behind the whole time in the comic books. And I'm curious as to know if we're gonna see Loki hanging out, because I'm curious as to know what's gonna happen when the whole thing blows over, when the whole thing's revealed, and it's gonna reveal Doctor Strange thinks he created the multiverse event. Then it's gonna be then Wanda Maximoff's gonna say she did something that may have triggered the multiverse event to happen, only for Loki to come out and say, no, it was another version of myself that killed this guy that went ahead and created the multiverse. So I'm the one that screwed up here. And now I'm thinking to myself, oh god, the Avengers, the new Avengers are screwed, because it seems every new Avenger so far has been causing more disasters than answers. Wanda, Doctor Strange, Peter Parker, and Loki all like collectively blew up the time, space, and time, and now we're kind of dealing with all this nonsense. It's fun. It's fun. I get it, but like it's so confusing at the same time when they make that reveal. Hopefully in the movie, there's also people saying that Deadpool might have been in the poster. I don't know much about that aspect. I could be really wrong, but I was hearing how Deadpool was in one of the glass shards with shushing the audience, and Deadpool is set to join the MCU. We just don't know how and when, and if this will be the same Deadpool from the other two movies that we got. But with the multiverse stuff, I think they're gonna keep the continuity they kept with Deadpool, and ultimately just make him another side of the Marvel multiverse in the MCU. But yeah, I was always thinking like there was going to be a way to bring in other characters from the MCU using the comic books to use as their source material, like Moira McTaggart being the key of all this. I definitely did think she was going to be the key that controls how this all happens. Could be wrong, but it would be interesting if they brought in Hickman's stuff to the forefront of this, and instead of having the mutants fight amongst themselves, they're actually a united front in the future of the other side of the universes. And it's interesting that they decide to reveal Patrick Stewart so soon. I thought for sure they would wait till like either the final trailer or just wait till the movie comes out, because there's been so many talks of so many cameos coming in just to justify the multiverse aspect throughout Marvel's long illustrious TV and movie run in live action. And there was also rumors that Ben Affleck was contacted to reprise his role as the original Matt Murdock Daredevil actor, but he apparently declined. I don't know if that's 100% true, but it is going to be very interesting if they do that route with other characters. They can bring back the other Elektra actress and explain how the Netflix shows tie in with the Marvel movie stuff and all the limited series stuff on Disney Plus, since Kingpin's actor and Daredevil's actor keep saying, "Oh, they're the same character," even though that can't really work, because it's the fact that this is the same character. If this is the same character, that means the brutal violence is also canon, but Disney won't go TVMA with on Disney Plus. They've already stated that TV-14 was probably already stretching it for them, so going TVMA would be too far for them, and they would have to like a separate network just to justify it. Though I would have just made like an adults only section that contains the TVMA content, since you're also bringing in Deadpool and everything. That's the rated R movie. And yeah, and I don't think we're going to see the Punisher back anytime soon unless they're willing to compromise and bring him as a rated R property. But it's just one of those days where I'm just wondering what they're going to do next. And then whoo boy. So it just annoys me that the Marvel multiverse stuff is allowed, but Star Wars can't be a multiverse. I mean, it's just frustrating for me as a fan of Star Wars to see all these different ideas and concepts, and then you reboot a good chunk of it, only to never touch it again and not make a separate imprint just to make it work. And now you have a chance. I feel like you could, with the World Between Worlds stuff, that you could make a separate timeline and make three different timelines. And you have the Legends timeline, the sequel trilogy timeline, and the Mandalorian timeline where everything diverts, and we get this historical making moment. I would say that you should make a series just to build it up, like instead of just saying, hey, we're doing a three-way trilogy, we're doing a three-way timeline, not and whatnot. We're going to take the aspects that people love about Star Wars currently during our reboot and separate the other stuff that people didn't like about the Star Wars reboot, and you know, make that the sequel timeline, and then we go ahead and make our other timeline with the Mandalorian and make an unknown future event. It's my hope, at least, on that. And the book of Boba Fett. Okay, yeah, the book of Boba Fett. Let's get to that. It should have been there for it. Like I would have done it a little bit differently if I was in charge of the whole thing. I would have like cut out the Mandalorian and the other greater Star Wars stuff going on that doesn't involve Boba Fett like at all, I would save that for Mandalorian season 3. And during that point, I would go ahead and I would have went ahead and expanded more of Boba Fett's backstory, make probably animation style events, or use Daniel Logan to come back and explore his history with Cad Bane and the deleted reels, and make a live action event for it, just to get all the questions answered on that front. Show the history of Cad Bane and Boba Fett. Have more the mafia style gangster underworld stuff be more explored beyond just Tatooine. Probably expanded across Coruscant, Nal Hutta, the Huts, and all that, and show other manipulations that this is not just Tatooine as the big underworld. It's all the galaxy going on. And I'm not saying you can't have Mando show up. You can. I feel Mando should have shown up. Like, but his episode, but the parts where he showed the episode he did should have been like the pilot episode of sorts for season 3, and that would have made more sense from my mind, because Mando is connected more to the larger side of the Star Wars universe. It's his story involving those characters, whereas Boba Fett's story is so far removed from Mando's stuff that it just felt out of place for me. And I know what I'm about to say is going to piss someone off, but I'm just going to come out and say it. I really did not like Ahsoka and Luke already knowing each other on the personal front. It's just the way in season 2 Ahsoka showed up. It felt like she didn't know what had happened to Anakin, to Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi, and I'm left wondering, wait, does she know what happened? The way she sounds, it sounds like she just knows Vader's dead, but she doesn't know he turned back to the light, that his attachments were what brought him back, what threw him into the dark path, also brought him back into the light. If if she did, then if she didn't know, then I would have understood why she was so hesitant to take on Grogu as an apprentice, and why she seemed having PTSD related flashback with regarding her encounter of Anakin and Vader. But they didn't do that. They instead opted for having her already know Luke from a personal perspective, and that made me think, wow, that's a very missed opportunity to really explore her psychological trauma and show her interacting with her, finally confronting her past and having to make peace with that, and meeting Luke. And they could have saved that moment for Luke to meet her and tell her what really happened on the Death Star. He didn't kill Vader. Vader sacrificed himself to save him, and died being Anakin Skywalker again, which would have been more emotional instead of what we got. That was like the moment I was like, oh god, we're really doing this. And I know I feel like I'm complaining more about this. Like, it was a fun moment, but it felt like it should have been different. It really, to me, should have been different. It's my opinion. I'm not taking anyone else's away. I'm not going to go ahead and say this is what they should have done in terms of they needed to do this and they have to do this and they can't do it any other way on that front. And I'm like, it's just my recommendation of how I felt. But if someone else liked it, and I've heard a lot of people loved Ahsoka and Luke interacting off of each other, and that's props to them. Props to them. I'll give them props. And now, and it just reminds me, when it comes to that fandom side of Star Wars, it's like, oh god, it's like wrestling to me. Like the tribalist activities of WWE, AEW, it's just so frustrating to deal with. It stresses me out these days. I'm up in my end with this. Like, I can't, like, I'll criticize AEW. I'll bash WWE when they do their unethical practices that I find questionable and abhorrent. But if someone told me I like WWE, I watch WWE, I'm not going to tell them they're stupid for that. It's their right, and I totally get why they would still watch WWE, because just like me, it's their childhood. It's what they grew up on. But at the same time, those who would defend WWE to their bitter end and attack anyone else who dare says, well, maybe WWE isn't great because WWE gave me my childhood, therefore you can't criticize it. It is my right to deny your right to criticism. And bashing anyone who likes AEW, it's and I've said this before. I've said this on Twitter multiple times. I get the feeling WWE is to blame for this part of the wrestling internet, and the other side is the internet and social media and echo chambers. Because while this kind of tribalist activity did exist in the Monday Night War, the internet wasn't as big and massive and more used as it was back then. Like, you still had wrestling boards on the internet, DM boards, going ahead and defending WWE and Stone Cold, calling him overpushed and everything. But you didn't have like that big audience enough to say, I agree with you 100%, no room for changes, it should have been this, it should have been that. Then you got this echo chamber going, and it's just all hell's breaking loose. And I also feel like WWE's also at fault here because their documentaries, there's always that grain of yeah, it's revisionist history a little bit on that front, like how the Ultimate Warrior was always a failure, was not good of a person, was not good of a wrestler. And while some aspects were true, they also tried to villainize him more so instead of just bringing up his actual problems in life that he had. Like, he was very, from what I recall hearing, he was homophobic and racist. But they kept saying all this stuff about him, downplaying him to the point that he sued. And then there's how his Ultimate Warrior debut in WCW was a complete failure, a flop. And I mean, and I'm talking about his debut, I'm not talking about after, but his debut actually drove viewers up. People pointed that out, how viewership actually increased when Warrior showed up to confront Hollywood Hogan. Whereas the WWE says, no, it tanked, it flopped, and don't believe us. Eric Bischoff says it tanked and flopped, even though there are metric datas, because they don't expect us to know this. And then there's all the promotions that WWE talks about, like AWA. They talk about ECW, WCW, how all these promotions fell, and how WWE built their empire and became what they are, as if to say, this is the only way it can work. You have to be like us to make it work. You can't be good doing something different. If you do something different, you're gonna end up like all these other companies, which is tragic that WWE has built this propaganded viewpoint of the world, this rhetoric of how the business should go, and not, it can't just have their own take on it. They can't do their own way. It's just reaching a point where I feel like now, when AEW came onto the scene and challenged how they could become a successful company, become a successful promotion, to the point that people just couldn't, that tribalist on WWE's front just can't grasp how a wrestling company could get big if they're not doing it the way WWE has told everyone how they did it and how they're still around. And yeah, I get the feeling that's what sets people off more so, because WWE has made a cultist fan base side where they can't, where they're told this is how we succeeded, that's the only way we can succeed in wrestling, you can't do it this other way. And that's, and I feel like that's a massive problem. And I've seen accounts just defend the billion-dollar corporation that could give two cares about them, that don't care about them, that could, that if they had the power to, they set their buildings on their home on fire if they told them it would make a profit. They got away with so much horrible stuff they pulled. They got away firing over 80 people, 80 plus growing, over the course of a year into year, and if you add in the 2 years of firings, that would equal up to over 100 people. And it's just so freaking annoying that this is how everything's going these days in wrestling. I don't know why. I just wish we could just watch a product, complain if we don't like it, criticize it if we don't like it, or give our opinion on it and like it or hate it, but we would respect the other side's opinion on that front. Like, it's not politics, like the real, it's not like our real world politics where everything's so freaking messed up. And I'm just left stressed out of my mind on that front. And we always have to keep wondering when the next time we're going to hear some doomsday report that makes you want to go ahead and hide out all your stuff in a bunker. It's just like, do I not like WWE? I don't like how the management has handled things these in recent years alone. I don't like what they've done in the past of how they got to the top, how they had to burn everything else to the ground just to make sure they're the only ones standing, how they had to destroy all their opponents to build their empire up. And how they did it made me think, how is Vince not arrested? How is he not in prison for how he did these things? The steroid trial, he got away with that. The third party stuff, he got away with that somehow, when that should have been the straw that broke the camel's back when it comes to independent contractors, in my opinion. But certain wrestlers didn't want to open, as they said, quote, open that can of worms, which ultimately proved that there was no single effing given to it. But it's just it just depresses me, and I don't know what to do to fix it. All I have is social media to rant and rave when something stupid goes down, but I don't know a solution to it because I don't have that kind of power. And the people that could have done something different, like a certain politician, never really followed through with what he said, everything he said, because for what it sounded like, he wanted to be Secretary of Labor, but because he didn't get it, he couldn't think of anything else he could have done with the influence he already had. He couldn't just talk to them. He couldn't just go on CNN and talk about it and make a public call to arms, essentially, to tell us how to give solutions to petition and everything. It's just sad that happened, and I wish things were having different. Um, okay, this was my first attempt at commentary here over gameplay footage. This is Neo Reality Entertainment. I'll just call it NRE Commentaries, probably on the thumbnail and title. But feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my other content in the channel description below and also in the channel dashboard. Stay tuned for more. I'll see y'all next time. Take care and have a good day, everybody.